I'm Jeff Fitzgerald, and this is the Feral Thomist. A quick follow-up to our discussion of visiting the sick. 2020, amongst other things, will be the year of the emergence of COVID-19 and the mayhem that it has wreaked in our society. All other things aside, COVID has created an unusual situation for us, unusual circumstances when it comes to visiting the sick. Because of the concern with COVID infection and spreading this to those who are already ill, visiting the sick seems to be out. You cannot do it. I know in my own life, I have an uncle that I have a lot of affection for. I am not able to see, and I have not seen him in months and months in the facility where he stays at because of this concern. And even when he or anyone else, if they have to go to a hospital for some procedure or through some medical crisis, we cannot see them. The most they can have, perhaps, is one visitor per day. And being a nephew and not a very, very close family member, meaning a child or a spouse or even a brother or sister, I'm pretty far down the list, so I cannot visit him. How do I fulfill my obligations here to visit the sick? How am I able to reach out to them, to have this heartfelt compassion and then put that in action for the purpose of relieving it? This is where we have to get a little creative. This sounds like an obvious thing that we say, well, you could just, but then when we start getting down to the details of what to do, that's where things get a little nuts. My own personal recommendations are, of course, you can make phone calls, you can send emails or texts, but if a person's really sick, it's very difficult for them to even take that on. It's not the same thing. A couple of suggestions. One idea is send a letter, not a card, handwrite a letter. Yes, like it's 1932. Send them a handwritten letter for someone to read. Or better yet, if you cannot do it through Skype or for FaceTime or something like this, have some sort of a video chat with them so that you can not only see them, but they can see you. And you're able to just speak to them and just spend time with them. And this sounds like, what I'm going to recommend now, sounds like I'm cheating, but if you already know in advance you're going to run out of things to talk about past the medical stuff, make up a short list of 5 things to talk about. And don't make it all about them. Sometimes you need to be able to talk about yourself, what's going on, talk about things that they care about that are not related to sickness. Plan out your conversation, if you will. Have a general idea of a flow of it, because if they're truly sick, they're going to need you to take that lead. So do it. Say, for example, if I was speaking to them, so perhaps I would start with, how are you? How is, the doctor say, and this and that and the other. And then transition that into something completely neither here nor there. Something that they might be interested in. If it's your Aunt Ida, talk about knitting. Or if it's your Uncle Bob, talk about something about an old car that you saw. Part of this is to get their mind off of things. And part of it is to help them feel normal. Somewhere in there, after this, talk about yourself. Let them know what's going on with you. Then talk about your desire to see them and that you're not able to, but you're going to catch up before you know it. And then somewhere in there, bring up something about the Lord, that you're praying for them. Now here's the thing. It's not a matter of just telling you you're praying for them. Lots of people say, oh, I'm praying for you, and you know perfectly well they are not. So do it. And particularly if they're Catholic, say a decade of the Rosary with them. If they're not Catholic, just say a prayer with them. Just to say the Lord's Prayer, the Our Father, with a person in a video chat, you'd be amazed the power that can have just in their heart. The Lord uses that. And it personally, at a human level, comforts them, and there's no telling the graces that will come from it. We have to take advantage of what we can to fulfill these requirements in the midst of COVID restrictions. We cannot let that hold us back. Don't use COVID. I know I've been tempted to do it myself and probably have done it more than I should have. Don't let COVID give you an excuse to just bow out of this work of mercy. Now is the time to really go after it. There are more and more sick people. There's a lot of fear about sick people. The second part of that, a lot of older people are really, even though they're not sick, they're having to stay away from other social things because of the fear of illness. This is what's been advised, especially for people in their 70s and their 80s. They, therefore, are becoming more and more lonely, more and more cut off, even though they're not sick. Use this time now to take advantage of this in the same way. Video chat, phone calls, be engaged. Yes, you might not want to talk to them all the time. What does that have to do with anything? Nothing. All we have to do is a 5 or 10 minute phone call just to check on them and chat with them for a little bit about what's going on with them. Especially if they're not sick and they're shut in, you're going to hear a lot of complaining. Of course you are. What's that got to do with anything? Let them get it off their chest, and then use some of that time to encourage them. Right? That's really, really important. And take as your example St. Barnabas, the companion of St. Paul, and he's in the Acts of the Apostles. Even the name Barnabas means son of encouragement. This is what you can be. Pray to St. Barnabas for the guidance and the strength and the knowledge of being that encourager in the faith as we come through hope, seeking hope to emerge from this on the other side of the COVID whole situation, to be a far better Christian, far better Catholic than we were when all of this started. Thanks for watching. See you next time. God love you.